let me just kind of interject real quick, Ted, if you don't mind. To the caveat of her husband, we did approach her husband to come on the show. Unfortunately, he declined for his, for probably obvious reasons. So we did reach out to him and ask him to be a part of this, to kind of give his version, give his side, and he elected to just say, nah, I'm not walking into that situation. So just want to, preface that and say we did reach out to him and ask that. So go right ahead, Ted.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, it sounds like you had a different mindset. Maybe you had different expectations for marriage when you were in your first marriage than your second.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I wasn't totally, naive to the psyche of a man because I grew up with all brothers. So, but I was that sister that I always asked the questions that girls didn't know about boys, to kind of find out about it. So, I knew how guys, like the multiple women and, how they would like to do guy things. So I kind of knew how that worked, but, I just felt that was my end all in a marriage at that time. And, once I married the second time after being single for 11 years, I figured, okay, well, we'll give it a chance. And we both still want the relationship, then I'll give it a chance.
Did your first husband want the relationship to keep going? Did he try to?
He did, but I'm stubborn, and that's where I was at, and I wasn't going to change it.
Well, I can only imagine that must have been hurt. I mean, it was your first marriage. Usually people get married. This is my soulmate, the love of my life, and that can be very disappointing to have that happen.
Right.
So it's almost like I want you to feel the pain that you made me feel, and I'm leaving.
Right. Right.
Hey, Diane, let me ask you a quick question, and I'm sorry I don't know this because of course, I've spoken with your husband many times and everything. How old is your husband?
We're 2 years apart.
45. Okay, cool. So, Ted, this is a question to you. So, there's kind of a belief, and they've done studies on this and everything, and even in the books that I've written, I've even mentioned this, that it is usually better to marry a man who's like kind of in his maybe mid to late 30s, maybe even 40s. Why? Because by that time, as a rule, men kind of have what I call the play out their system. They've, done what they wanted to do. They've been out there for a number of years. They're still young enough to kind of go and get, good woman. They've built themselves up. They've, have some, either, great life experience, or they have a career, they have a home, blah, 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 right? So she mentioned that her husband is 45 years old. Do you think it's something that's kind of hardwired, like some men are just like that and there's really no changing of that? Or do you think it's a scenario where, do you think maybe it's a situation where he's just not suffering, any sort of, penalty or repercussions from it or accountability or whatever? What do you think is the reason, Sam? Let me ask you that. Also have a few. Let me just say this real quick. We have a few callers on hold.
I was going to say that's where I was going to go. Yeah, I was going to go. But let me. So I often have a very different perspective. So, Diane, you said you grew up with brothers, so that gave you some insight into men and what men may want.
Right.
And so that's something that I think we have a social, we're challenged socially. So, and Blair, you can tell me if you learned something similar. So from a little boy, I'm told that I'm supposed to do all these gentleman-like things for a woman, and I need to be prepared to make her feel safe and protected, and I need to make money so I can take her on dates and marry her, and if she wants to have children, that I make enough money that I can take care of the family. So I need to be a good hunter who can provide for my family. And then as I get older, I find out that I'm, sexually I need to be a good lover, and there's take your time and be foreplay, and you need to be sensitive and understanding to your woman, and you need to care for her, and all these things. And somewhere in my early 20s, I started asking women, what were the things that you were told that you need to do for a man? Like, I was given a long list of things. And I know, Blair, in one of your books, you asked women, what are all the things that you expect from a man? And they all had an answer. When you asked the women, what does a man get in return for that? I think one of the challenges is that, right, crickets, right. So one of the challenges is that we have all this, I don't want to call it pressure, but we have all these demands on a man for what he's supposed to do. And really, men, we're human beings first. And part of the problem, I think, is that we teach little girls that boys and men only want one thing. We just want sex. And I think that sets women up for a mistress. I think that conversation and that belief that we indoctrinate girls with this. And did you learn that as a little girl, or was that your experience from watching your brothers, that that's all men and boys wanted was sex?
Well, I more learned that from my brothers. That's all they wanted. From my upbringing, I was being taught to take care of the household and take care of the kids. That was going to be my job when I became a woman.
Right.
As I got to like teenage, then I started learning. My mom became a single mother, so I started learning the single parent role. So I knew that should I be faced with that, I knew how to handle it. But I was still taught primarily the house, the kids. That's your job.
Right. So as a man, I can tell you that scenario of you take care of the house and the kids, I'm left out in the cold. And a woman, if she believes that all I want is sex because I'm a man, and all the words that follow, all men want is sex and their dogs and all this stuff that you hear, I'm really not, as a human being, getting my needs fulfilled. We may be having sexual intercourse, and every woman is different when it comes to being a lover. Some women are good, some women are mediocre, and some are just not that good. And sometimes a woman, well, I'll say most of the time, they believe by virtue of having sex with me that they've fulfilled their mission as a woman, and now I'm supposed to do all the good hunting things. And I'm going to assert that scenario by itself, we need to change the conversation and start teaching little girls that men really want the same thing that women want. We want to feel special. We want to be taken care of. We don't expect you to go out and fight for us and do that kind of thing. We are fine being a protector. We're fine with being a financial provider. But there are things that we may need from you that goes well beyond sex. And a lot of men, because men too have bought into believing that they only want sex until they get much older and they start looking elsewhere. So did any of that occur to you, at least with your second marriage, that there may be something that you could be responsible for? And when I say responsible, I don't mean in a sense of blame, because people hear the word responsibility and they run from it. I mean responsible in the sense of, so I'm an athlete and I want to be an athlete who breaks records. If I want to break records, I need to generate some activity, and I need to be responsible for that activity. And if I'm not responsible for taking that activity, I may not be a great athlete. And I'm sorry, I may give too many examples, but I'm a guy who had fast cars, and I drove fast. I've gotten speeding tickets. I am responsible. No one made me buy that car. No one made me speed. I'm responsible for exceeding the speed limit and getting a ticket. It's not like a blame, but I know I took action, and that's the outcome. I took the risk. So I'm asking, as a woman, are there things that you think you could have been, or maybe women in general can be responsible for that can sort of bridge the gap in really giving men the things that they really want from a marriage, a relationship?
In my personal situation, I mean, I went over it, and I couldn't think of anything, and the only reason I couldn't is because there was someone before me that kind of never went away until everything was exposed. And then as far as, like, the women after me, the first one was an ego thing. And, I get how your male ego can just kind of get to you and you just act on it. The third one, I haven't figured out the whole thing. I don't know if it was just, we just kind of got in our routine and got used to, not being around each other.
Right,
and that was just what was missed, because our schedules, we almost passed like ships in the night. We're really not home together a lot.
Right.
Because, I work a daytime schedule and he works a second shift schedule. So by the time he gets off work and comes home, I'm getting up to go to work. And then by the time I get off work for the day, he's already left to go to work. So it's kind of like we really only see each other for a little bit of time, maybe on the weekend. Because, then he's picked up a weekend job because he really has that provider, thing like ingrained. So he provides everything.
Okay.
So, he's got to have above and beyond.
Okay.
Let me
Blair, can you take a couple of calls? Can you take a
I was
couple
going
of
to say that
calls,
we have
Blair?
some calls and everything. So let me try to see if I can get a couple of people on the line.
And just say their area code. Right.
Okay. Yes. 951 area code. You are on the air.
Hello. How are you?
Hey.
Hello.
Good evening to you.
Can you hear me? This is Ayana.
I can hear you. Hey, Ayana, how are you?
From good old SoCal. I'm wonderful, thank you. I'm
good,
listening to your podcast.
Ayana,
it sounds pretty interesting.
Tell them where you're calling from, please.
I am calling from SoCal, Southern California.
Oh,
Southern
very
California.
Cool. Wow,
hello.
Nice. Okay.
Hello, Southern California.
Yes. Awesome,
awesome.
I am in San Francisco right now, going up a big hill, taking my parents sightseeing.
Very cool. Nice.
Listening in. The podcast sounds pretty interesting.
So what are your thoughts? Tell us
you.
what you're thinking.
I like, I'm sorry, your co-host today. I forgot your name. I do apologize. But I like your answer, and it was very interesting as to men want the same thing that women want. And also asking the question, what is it that you think that basically you could have done differently or you could do better in the future?
Right. Good. All right. So were you taught?
I like that.
Were you taught as a little girl and a woman or a teenager the things that you're responsible for aside from sex and food cooking and children?
No, I wasn't. Actually, I can't even say that I was taught. It was more by example. My parents have been married for almost 50 years now. And seeing my grandma and the way she took care of her husband, and my mom and the way she takes care of my dad as well. No, and they both still have pretty much love for each other. She calls him her boyfriend, and he calls her his girlfriend, and they still hold hands. He still opens the door for her. He still does, pull out the chair. He still does everything even over 50 years of marriage. So, and I only have a sister, so I don't have any brothers. But growing up, as far as seeing guys and their interaction, that is your thought on, especially with people going through junior high school and high school, and then you get into college. It's like, they just want to have sex. They're going through puberty and and everything like that. And it's the same way with some young women. So
50 years, that's a long time.
That's a very long time, and I appreciate them being in my life for this long and alive and still going strong and still showing love for each other. They have their moments like everybody else. Yeah.
Ayana, let me ask you this, and again, if I'm stepping outside my boundaries, please say, I'd rather not get into it or anything. You said your parents have been married almost 50 years. Has there been anything that you are aware of where there's been any sort of situation with your, well, I would say mostly either side, but mostly with your father, where there's been any sort of unfaithfulness? I'm asking this for a reason.
Yeah, I found out as I got older some things that happened, and I never look at it as, oh my God, I can't believe. No, I look at it as that's what happened, and I don't, it's not like, oh, he's a saint. That would never happen. No, people do things, and yes, things were shared down through the years, and I'm just like, oh, okay, really? But nothing that was continual or anything like that. It was some things that happened, but it never continued.
Okay. I say that because, and thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate your transparency on that. The reason why I ask you that is because we have a tendency to believe that people can't get to, happiness and be married, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, that, part of the reason is because of, because someone was unfaithful. And what I try to help people understand is, if you just really can't get past it, then that it is what it is. But over a period of that many years, you are going to have the possibility of one or both of those mates being unfaithful during 50 years. I mean, you think about it, 50 years is a long time to be married. It's a long time to be
and it was.
So,
it was.
Yeah,
both.
And so the idea, and this is one of the reasons why I brought Diane on, and this is one of the reasons why I asked you the question, is because I want people to understand that you can get past it. There's not, it's just terrible to think that a man would do that. It's nasty. It may be those things, but when you kind of take away the kind of the block there and understand it from more of a man's perspective, it's not that you're ignoring the woman's perspective, but when you understand it from the man's perspective, at least you can kind of get some understanding and some, and you can kind of get to the next step. So I just wanted to put that out there and ask you that. So I greatly appreciate you sharing that. So everything good? How's the weather in SoCal?
Everything is great. But to go back to what you said, that's very true, even on both parties. And, some things happen early in the beginning, some in the middle, and some in the end, because there's different stages to the relationship and marriage. However, in either or, it has to be both parties that are willing. It can't just be one party that's willing. It has to be both parties that are willing and that love each other enough to prove it to each other that I love you this much. Because sometimes it only falls on one party, and it's not going to last. That foundation is not going to last. Sometime or another, it's going to end up crumbling because you don't have two people trying to hold that relationship up.
So you're a lucky lady, Iona. Is that the right way to say your name?
That's fine. Yes.
You're lucky to have. Oh, that's fine, right? I said it wrong.
Okay. But it's okay.
Well, you're lucky.
I get it. It was almost there, so you're good.
Ayana, thank you so much for calling in, darling.
Thank you. You guys have a wonderful rest of your show.
No, that's
we got to take a few more calls and everything, but thank you so much for calling in, Ayana, and you have a great rest of your day.
Take care.
All right, we're going to go to another call here, and it's in the 614 area. Give me just a minute. Caller, you are live, 614. Go right ahead.
Hello, someone with the 614 number? Maybe
614.
Good evening.
Oh.
Good evening. How are you?
Good evening. How you doing? This is Monda.
What's up, Monda? How are you, ma'am?
Hey, just calling in to make sure support. How are you doing?
Hello. Thanks for calling.
Yes. Thank you for calling.
Welcome.
Monda, tell them where you're from. Tell them where you're from, please.
I'm from Columbus, Ohio.
Awesome. Thanks for calling in. Monda is I actually know Monda as well. Monda's here in my city. Monda, well, you can tell them what you do. Tell them in like 7 seconds what you do.
Actually, I'm an account manager for Aetna Insurance Company on a youth organization and a car lot and on my own money line. So they're just 7 seconds.
Give the car real quick. Give the car lot a shout out, please.
1017 auto sales.
Awesome, awesome. Did you have a comment, or are you just calling in, or what?
I'm just calling in to listen. I do not call in. I looked on Facebook, seeing that you was actually live, so I wanted to make sure I called in and support you. I didn't hear the beginning of the conversation, so therefore I don't want to join because I don't know exactly what y'all discussed.
Okay.
Oh, no
Thanks
problem. Thanks so much for calling in. I appreciate it. You can just stay on the line. We'll have you there, okay?
Of course. All righty. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Melinda. Talk to you. All right.
You have another one?
We have another couple of callers and everything, but we're gonna. I want to get to a couple of points and everything that I'm sure Ted has, and I want to bring Diane back into the conversation. One thing that I wanted to just say that I think that a lot of people don't understand, that sex for men isn't just about getting between a woman's legs. For some men, it's about that. It's just about, hey, I just want to have sex with random women or whatever. For most men, sex, there's usually a deficit that's there. You have to understand, if it's a situation where you just want to have sex with random women, then go by ahead. If that's how you choose to treat your body, or you want to do it like that, rock on. That's what you do. But when you tell someone that I want to be committed to you, and then you go against that commitment, and you say to yourself, I want to kind of go out and I want to branch out and I want to sleep with some other. I still want what I have at home, but I want to start to kind of go out and start to kind of do some things with some other woman. That's a deficit. That's talking about now you are speaking to your moral character. And this is where I think the women have the frustration and the anger with men, because they see it as, you told me, you gave me your word. You gave me pretty much a verbal vow that you would be only committed to, only sexually intimate with me. And to break that, that's where you see you just see so much of the angst that women have. So what are your thoughts, Ted?
Well, I'm still going to come back to, socially we have a deficit, because what Diane said is she didn't learn she learned to take care of the house and the children. And the woman who just called, I butchered her name, Iona, she watched two generations. She used one word that you don't always hear, and she used the word love. Like, so you hear so many women saying, I'm tough, I'm independent, I know how to do for myself, I learned to be a single mother, I'll take care of the children are my everything. And the most important decision you make in your life is the choice of a spouse, because that person will affect every single aspect of your life, how you raise your children, the state of mind you go to work in. They're gonna where you live, how you educate your children, how you even feel about yourself. Your spouse will influence everything. And I think we kind of miseducate women. One thing is we tell them that that's all men want, and then if you believe all men want is sex, then you'll deliver that and think that, well, I gave you what you want. That's what they told me. And so that creates a deficit in the relationship. I mean, you can take a hardened criminal like, I don't know, Al Capone. These guys, even these gangster mafias, had a woman that they loved. They gave them love and affection. So I think every man, even if a guy cheats. Now, there are some guys who cheat, and they have a great woman at home and they cheat. That guy probably doesn't deserve a really good, loyal woman who gives him love and affection. But I'm willing to say most guys don't cheat, for one, and there are guys who are not getting what they want and don't know how to ask for it.
Okay. Right. We have a couple of other callers and everything, but before we do that, I want to bring Diane, as I said, back into the conversation. Diane, are you still there with us?
I am.
Okay, awesome. My question I had to you. When you talk to a lot of women and they speak about a man who's cheated, a lot of times what happens is they tend to speak in it in sort of a vacuum. They start to kind of have a level of self-doubt. What did I not do? Did I not give him sex enough? Maybe I need to, do I need to lose weight? Maybe I need to do something with my hair. I do got a little old Jerry curl. Maybe I need to do something different or whatever. And so they kind of start to look at themselves as maybe part of the reason as to why this man was unfaithful. Question to you is, do you see it as somewhat of an indictment on something you did not do in the relationship, or I should say really in the marriage? Do you see it as an indictment on yourself?
Not necessarily, because I did kind of do everything, as I did when the relationship first started. As they say, do the things you did when you got him to keep him. And I did that. I was doing that. And so it's not really, like I say, anything that I can see that I can say, well, maybe I should have done this, or maybe I should have tried that, because, when I did ask the question, well, do you want me to change this? Should I change that? His answer was always no. No, I didn't marry you for that.
Okay.
That's not what I got with you. And he always told me, if you want to change it because you want to change it, I'm fine with that. But he still had, no true desire for me to change it.
Got it. Gotcha. Okay, cool. Hold the line for just a minute. We're going to try and take another call and see what they have to say. So bear with me just a moment. Hello, caller. You're on the air. It's a 917 area code. Go right ahead.
We have someone with the 917 area code. You are now on the air live talking to us.
Okay. We'll go ahead and put them on hold then. Okay, cool. So my next question I just want to throw out to you, and this kind of goes, I want you, Diana, I want you to kind of think back to the way that you found out and all the particulars of it. So does it, and I want to bring it into Ted as well. Does it matter the specifics? And what I mean by the specifics is, does it matter, like, is there a difference between cheating on someone if you've been married 18 years versus if you got busted and only been with that person for 18 months? Does it matter the specifics? Does it matter how many times the person cheated? If I'm with a woman, if I have a wife and we've been together for 11 years and I'm unfaithful, does it hurt more if I just started cheating 4 months into our relationship? Does that matter? Does it matter if the person actually came to you and said, we need to talk, I did something, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, versus you having to get out your blue secret mist and everything and spray over stuff and, do all the, the NCI stuff and everything. Do the specifics of the cheating matter, or is it just the fact you cheated, end of story? How does that work?
For me personally, I don't think it mattered as far as like the timeline. Of course, the longer the relationship, then the more your feelings are tied into it. And then too, it could also be the longer the relationship, the more time it gives you to kind of get laxed in the relationship and kind of allow the cheating to happen per se. Not really allow it, but just kind of let things go by the wayside and not really pay that much attention to it and just kind of let it go. But when it is discovered, the pain is still the same. As far as the discovery, I appreciate that I didn't have to go out and do all, the investigation and things. You always have a feeling that, something's off. But for me, I kind of wait until I have the proof before I bring it to your face. And so I kind of felt something was off, but then it was brought to me that, this is true.
Right. I want to ask something, and you led me into my next question. So when you found out, take yourself back to 2013 when you first found out. Did you kind of get the little hairs on the back of the neck standing up like, oh, something is up, man, something is not right? Was it that, or was it something very blatant that, kind of was brought to your attention?
No, it was it was like little things were happening. And they just weren't lining up. They weren't making sense. And I would ask questions about them, and the answer, he always had an answer. There was an excuse to, to kind of, I guess, stop me from questioning it. And I was like, okay. And I just kind of, mental note, I'll stick that, in the back of my mind, and we'll leave it there. And then I just kind of, things just weren't lining up.
So you were kind of somewhat building a case, like you just wanted to, like, I'm going to let you go ahead and build, I'm going to let you go ahead and do all these different things, and kind of like there's a rapper that says, when you put your neck in the guillotine, I'm going to kick the chair up from under you. Is that kind of how it went down?
Pretty much, yeah. But I didn't have to, because somebody else, pulled the rope for me.
Okay, cool. My only other question, and then I'm going to kick it to Ted. And I apologize if we went over this before. Was it something that he came and excuse me, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. Was it something that when you said, hey, here's what I have right here, I got you dead to rights, was there you tripping, you want something, I don't even know what you're talking about, or was it, hey, you got me, I'm sorry? I mean, how did it actually go down?
Well, the way I found out, like I said, I found out, through a messenger on Facebook, and I was asked to call the phone number, and this was the girl that he had a year relationship with. And as I'm talking to her on the phone, and she's telling me things, about it, she's like, in her message, she said she didn't know he was married. And she's telling me, I don't do these kinds of things, and that's why I'm coming to you, because, I know it's not right. If it were me, I want somebody to tell me. So as she's telling me these things, he was in the room, laying down, and I just kind of turned the light on and put the phone on speaker and was like, what is this? And then he went into the denial, like, nope, she's tripping. It's not true. It's not true. So I was like, okay, well, since she's on the phone and you're going to keep telling me no, can you do it to both of us in our face? So I just invited her over.
Wow.
Because what, as women, we do is we're too quick to blame the other woman. It's not her fault that he knew he was in a relationship and drew her in. So I wanted him to face us both. You tell us both what the truth is supposed to be, and you tell us both why we're standing here. And that's kind of how it went down.
So let me, and I want to ask Ted something real quick. So let me just ask you, how was the night? Did he stay there that night, or did he just leave for the evening, or how did the evening go that evening when it was like, oh wow, she really got it together? How did that go?
He stayed here that night because it was a very long night. But he did stay here that night, and I truly believe he stayed here that night because by the end of the night, I was just so totally exhausted. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just over it. And I don't recall I may have slept in the spare room. I don't recall, but I believe I may have slept in the spare room. Was like, I need a little bit of space away from you. I don't know if I was sleeping in the same bed with you was going to go right now. So I believe I just slept in the spare room and was like, I need a little bit of space for a minute.
You said you slept in the stairwell?
No, in the spare room. We have 2 bedrooms. So I slept
spare
in the
room. I thought you said the stairwell. I'm like,
No. I definitely go to my mama's house if it came to that.
Your voice is muffled again. I'm not sure why. But Diane,
it may be the area of the house I'm sitting in.
Okay. I was going to ask you, Blair, you were sort of alluding to something. If your first husband would have come to you and said, hey, I needed to confess something, I made a bad mistake, it won't happen again. If he would have come to you and told you that he cheated, do you think you would have stayed in the first marriage?
Probably. I would have taken it a lot better than if I would have found out myself like I did.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I probably would have.
Let me ask you another question, because we're kind of coming to the close of our show and everything, as we're kind of running out of time. Let me ask you this, Diane. Any regrets?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there anything that you look at yourself and say, I wish I would have done that different? What regrets do you have?
If I would have had, I probably should have listened to my inner self sooner. When I did have the questions of like the things that were popping up that weren't lining up, there were a lot of things that came up that I never questioned, and I should have questioned them sooner. So if I were to say I had any regrets, it would be that I didn't question the things that didn't line up with, within myself sooner.
There's kind of a thing where, and I think this goes for men and women. I don't think this is the gender thing. I think when you kind of, as I say, get on the trail, when you kind of feel that there's something there, whether it's man feeling about a woman, woman feeling about a man, I think that people their first reaction, their first instinct is to just kind of throw you off. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm here. And they kind of sell you on the vision and the dream that everything is okay and it's all in your head. And I think that's also, and I know that that's one of the reasons why when women are finally forced to look at the idea that yes, he is being unfaithful to you, he is cheating on you, he's been cheating on you for a while. I think that's why it's so damaging for women to find out, because everything that they've been telling themselves for so many months or years, it's like now it's
right.
Now, and all the the times when it was 12 something at night and he was like, oh, I fell asleep, or she said something and she was like, oh, I had my phone on silent, and then you start to kind of think to yourself like, man, I think that's why it hurts women so much, because they have put so much trust and so much effort in, kind of believing and thinking this man was loyal, only to find out that, he's just been playing a game for the whole time. So, for sisters like you and, for yourself, Diane, and for sisters like yourself, I just give y'all a big hug and tip my hat, because I can imagine, what that does to your psyche, to your now trust level, which has been shattered, and everything else. So, Kayla, I'm going to kick it over to you. What's your thoughts?
Well, no, you just said something important. So if you suspect the person is cheating, you ask them directly. It's sort of like lying twice. So you deceived me by going to someone else, and then I asked you directly, and you deceived me, as though I'm too stupid to understand what's happening. So I can see a lot of resentment happening from that. That's a problem.
Absolutely. Diane, on a closing thought, where are you all right now? I mean, how is your relationship? I mean, have you fully healed from from kind of the damage that's happened, or is it just like it's a day-to-day thing and whatever? Where are you at right now?
It's definitely day-to-day. I am still healing. And trust is such a big thing with me that I'm still working on that. But I will say on his behalf that if it is something that he knows that I'm questioning, and I kind of show it in my face, he'll bring me that proof and just say, here, it's right here. So it's getting better. So it's getting easier to trust. But it's still an ongoing process for me.
I want to ask one last question, and then I'm going to kick it over to Ted for his closing thoughts. I've talked to a number of women, and I've even talked to some men whose women have cheated on them, but I've talked to a number of women who have had men who have been unfaithful, and they're like, how do I get back on the first step? Whatever. Do you find yourself, and you kind of answered part of it, but do you find yourself kind of looking at certain, like every, I remember talking to one woman, she said, everything this dude does now, I'm watching it. If he, spends too long on his cell phone, if he goes into a room now, if he does things that actually are normal, natural things. But because now, since the trust has been broken, she's like, I find myself just, everything is just, my senses are just so heightened. If he goes out, and gets home, late, and he's supposed to get home at, 6:15, and he gets home at 6:23. I'm up here thinking he was doing something. Do you find yourself kind of in that mindset?
I'm in it a lot, but I don't always express it to him, because a lot of times I know it's just my fear of it happening again, rearing its ugly head. And, if it's just a few minutes, I know that's just my fear, and I'm like, okay, what can really happen in 7 minutes? Like, honestly.
Right.
And then, if it's something like, he goes off into another room, a lot of times he'll leave his phone sitting, and, I don't have to worry about him being on the phone nowhere because it's sitting right here in the same room with me. He's walked away from it. He's gone to do something else. So, it just becomes, you kind of have to weigh it. You can't nitpick everything, because then it becomes you're pushing them away rather than trying to pull the relationship back together.
Right.
Absolutely. Diane, thank you so very much. I'm sure a lot of the women out here need to hear that and kind of get it, kind of hear it from someone who's actually not gone through it like 20 years ago, but is actually kind of still in the, in the trenches of dealing with it and everything. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you also to our callers. Ted, before we kick off, you want to say a few words?
I want to just thank Diane once again for coming on and being so open and honest with us. Really appreciate it. And I thank the callers and people who have listened. We look forward to next week at 7 o'clock, and we'll do this all over again. And we're going to have another topic that will be, I'll say, somewhat controversial. So it'll be very interesting engaging people about next week.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate being on with you tonight.
Thank you so much, Diane, and have a great evening. I also want to just say to the people who are out there and who actually listen to, who've been listening to the show and everything, because it's growing each week. I just want to say to those people, I just want to say thank you very much. Continue to listen. We'll get the information out to you and everything. We got the bugs and kinks worked out from the first week, so everything is on and copacetic at this point. So thank you very much. You all have a blessed week, and we'll see you next Sunday.
You got it. Thank you. Take care, everyone. Thank you. Take care, everyone. Thank you. Take care, everyone. Thank you. Take care.